Ready?
Steady.
Go. Here at Lloyds Banking Group, there's no such thing as just an apprentice. I'm in a position to say whether our products are fair, ethical and designed to help Britain prosper.
That moment when you realise you're in a team managing over £150 billion in funds.
It isn't all finance all the time. I led a partnership with Macmillan to help our customers access better cancer care.
Everyone knows you can trust Lloyds. I've seen our bold sustainability commitments and every day I see us following through.
1 minute I'm leaving uni with my sports science degree. The next I'm in a room thinking of ideas to help millions of families during the pandemic.
I work in financial crime, international sanctions. As you can imagine, it's a pretty interesting place to be right now.
1 minute you're reading about the cost of living crisis, and the next you're writing a briefing paper on it.
Off the back of my dissertation on DevOps pipelines, I went into an engineering role, and now I'm rolling it out company-wide.
We all got million subscription nowadays, so my team built a tool that helps 18 million customers manage them in our app.
When it's not developing with React or Redux, it's gaming with the other grads, or the odd night out.
I couldn't be prouder of my outreach work through Lloyds, helping school-age girls and non-binary people get into coding.
My next step, go for an associate director role, either in my team or something new and exciting. How's that for a rotation?
Hi everyone, I'm Tasmia and welcome to November's Lloyds Careers Live. This is our live stream show for those of you at school or college and of course your parents and carers, designed to help you learn about some of the exciting new career pathways that could become part of your future. The world of work is changing fast. By 2025, new jobs will have emerged. And by 2030, lots of the jobs we know today will be performed entirely different. This can sound scary, but the good news is there's so much to discover and learn, and you've already made a good start by joining our live stream tonight.
So, hi everyone, my name is Elaine and I'm your other host alongside Tasmia, my colleague this evening, as we explore the world of data analytics and data science. So this is a huge and such a fast moving career space, and we're really thrilled that tonight you can join us as we learn all about what we mean by careers in data. You can also learn about the skills that you need to get into data and the training and development that different employers offer through apprenticeships.
So data has always been around us. If you look back at archive pictures of people working in the 1930s and 1940s, you can easily find pictures of hundreds of people copying numbers from one place to another, carrying out calculations in order to make a decision. But it's changed now. So the way we work with data today is very different. And in the next few years, with the growth of AI, it's going to be even more different. But it's at its heart, data analytics and data science is the same as it always has been. It's about helping people and companies make good decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, the really exciting thing about data as a career space is that almost every employer out there in the UK is using data to make decisions to some extent or another. So this careers in data, this is already what we're calling a hot career. So there's more demand for skills than there are actually skilled people to do the work. So whether it's companies like Tesco, who run one of the largest customer relationship management systems in Europe through something like their club card scheme, which you might have heard of, or if you're building a railway, the big decisions that businesses have to make cost them a lot of money. And data helps to remove that gut feel and guesswork to give more certainty to investment decisions.
This is a rapidly evolving field. And if you look back on our YouTube channel, you can see we've explored careers in data a few times before. So tonight we're going to take a deeper look at how you can get into the field of data. And with the help of Sean from Firebrand, we're going to look at the training journey you might undertake as an apprentice in data analytics and data science. We're then going to try our hand at a few data questions with the help of our industry expert, John. And then we'll hear from our apprentices, Philip and Claudia, who will tell us a bit about themselves and their journey and how they decided on a career in data and how they're getting on with their training as well. So there's a lot to cover, Elaine.
There's always a lot to cover, isn't there, Tasmia? Well, before we get underway, what we should probably do is help our audience understand who we are and why we are both so passionate about apprenticeships. So, as I said at the beginning, my name's Elaine. My role is actually working in the apprenticeship team in Lloyds Banking Group. So there's always lots going on in that space and I love it.
And as you all know, I'm Tasmia, and I'm currently undergoing my second apprenticeship, which is a master's in software engineering. So I love the way apprenticeships provide you that hands-on knowledge, whilst also gaining that valuable industry experience, which is why I've gone on to do my second apprenticeship. So between Elaine and I, we really do understand apprenticeships. And as an apprentice, you always have the opportunity to get involved in different activities, including helping other people figure out what they want to do for their career. And who knows, if you choose to work in the future for Lloyds Banking Group and become an apprentice, maybe you could be here in the hot seat as a future presenter of Lloyds Careers Live.
They'll be queuing up, Tasmia, I'm sure. So here at Lloyds Banking Group, we want the workplace to be welcoming and accessible for everybody. So just as a reminder, if you do benefit from closed captioning, you can actually activate that now in Zoom or on YouTube if you're watching us on the live stream. And if you do miss anything from tonight and you want to go over things at your own pace, or you want to even read the transcript, you can find this from 7 p.m. tonight on our Lloyds Early Careers YouTube channel, alongside all of the previous episodes of Lloyds Careers Live that we've filmed.
That's great. Lloyds Careers Live is all about helping you learn about some of the new and emerging jobs that maybe aren't talked about so much at school. So we've known for a while now that how quickly jobs are changing, and by 2030, there will be even more things you can do that we can't quite describe or even just imagine yet. So this is your opportunity to learn new things, but also get your questions answered. And we've made it really simple to do this. You don't have to come off of mute, and you don't have those awkward conversations, and you don't have to turn your camera on. If there's a question on your mind that you'd like myself or Elaine to answer, just put it in the chat, and all you need to do is just type into the chat and we'll do our best to get this answered for you.
No worries. You don't need to show your face, as Tasmia said. So Tasmia, do you know what I think we'll do next? Let's try and put Zoom through its paces and see where everyone is joining us from this evening. So if you can let us know on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you know about careers in data science and data analytics, with 5 being the highest? So I think we're going to do a little poll now, Gareth. Is that right? Yes. Okay, brilliant. So let's see. Let us know what you think. I can see the answers are coming through. So how much do we think that people know about careers in data science and data analytics? Just scrolling down so I can see it all. Okay, we've got quite, looks like number 3 is the top at 48% coming through.
Quite good.
Yeah, that's a good starting position, but I think there's a lot of things that I'm hoping that you're all really going to learn from tonight.
And it'll probably make you decide better, like what you want to do in your career, and yeah, definitely some pointers here. So that's great. A lot of people know already about it, and hopefully this session will help you get your answers, and if you have any questions. So let's dive in with our expert sessions. Really pleased to welcome Sean Rafter from Firebrand. So welcome to Lloyds Careers Live.
Thank you for having me.
So Sean, first of all, welcome, and why don't you introduce yourself to our audience this evening?
So my name is Sean Rafter. I am the head of curriculum for data analysis, business analysis, and artificial intelligence with Firebrand. Been with Firebrand, it'll be 5 years in January. And prior to that, I've pretty much spent 20 years in varying analytical roles in both the public and private sector.
Okay, that's great. So I know one question that everyone's going to be having, like, who the hell is Firebrand? So now Firebrand for our students at college or school, they aren't really going to know or recognize the name. So could you explain what Firebrand is and what it does?
So Firebrand is an independent training provider, and we've been around for about 23 years now. And so we're not like a college or a university, we're a kind of privately owned organization. We are now part of a wider education group with the BPP Education Group, and that's with a couple of other organizations. And the thing that Firebrand does is we do commercial training. We do apprenticeships as well, and then we do boot camps. So commercial training is really short, intense training sessions. Apprenticeships are quite a bit more long term in terms of training and intrinsically linked to kind of work experience. Then boot camps are very short, intense periods of time where we upskill people in and around digital technologies.
Okay, that's great. So if I get this right, whilst our students will be used to like hearing about A levels and you know they like being delivered by their local schools or you know further education colleges, in apprenticeships there are other specialist training providers as well, including universities and private companies who deliver apprenticeship training as well.
Yeah, exactly that. So there's obviously there's quite a large market. There are the kind of new areas of degree level apprenticeships. So for those people considering going and doing a degree, it doesn't necessarily have to be with a university. And in fact, the unique way that apprenticeships are funded means that you could do a degree and get the same level of qualification in terms of education wise, but not necessarily come out with huge amounts of student debt, which I know is a concern for a lot of people.
Yep, and that leads me on to the next question. So just to clear up one common question we get all the time, if you're off to do a degree, you have to research, select and choose the university you want to study with. So I have a feeling when it comes to apprenticeships, it's a bit more, it works a bit more different. So if you could just explain like the journey for that.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably more about choosing the employer. So apprenticeships are intrinsically about they're obviously about gaining knowledge, but equally they're about developing and displaying competency around skills as well. So apprenticeships is more around an employer choice. So it's who you want to work for. But for instance, lots of different organizations will run exactly the same apprenticeship. So for data apprenticeships, they'll be run by all of the big ticket organizations in the UK. So it's less of a choice in terms of obviously university. It's more of a choice in terms of what type of employer do you want to work for. And as long as that employer kind of operates those apprenticeships, it's very similar to any kind of employment process in terms of interviews, selections, assessments, etc., etc.
Okay, that's great. And I believe you have some slides prepared for us.
Yes, so I think probably Gareth, if you can load up my data landscape slide, I can kind of just take you relatively quickly through the kind of landscape, unless you want me to deep dive some of the statistics in and around Firebrand, which I can totally do, but I can see Gareth has switched on. If you could go to the landscape slide, please, Gareth, so the other one. This is the one. And so I suppose that the thing with data, whilst it's been around for a long time, it's not necessarily set in stone. It's not necessarily hugely standardized. So a lot of organizations operate their data landscapes in a slightly different fashion. I suppose the landscape that you can see on the screen here is probably I'm a product of my own environment. So this is the type of landscape that I'm used to. And what I've tried to do is kind of broadly spell out an analytical hierarchy or a data hierarchy within a business, a little bit of a descriptor in terms of what those functions do, and then where you might have an apprenticeship that could kind of align to it. So if I start from the bottom, we have the level 3 data technician, and you could almost think of that as maybe a junior data analyst, and that individual will collect and collate data. They might do some formatting around it, maybe some exploratory data analytics. They might suggest to a more substantive analyst where some interesting patterns and trends might be. And there aren't necessarily strictly roles in organizations as it stands called data technicians. I think if you looked on the Amazon website at a data technician, that'd be someone that would be in a server room climbing ladders, etc., but that's not the kind of role we're looking at here. It's more of a research role, and that research role supports an analytical role where analysts will be there and they'll look at descriptive analytics, so describing what's happened in the past from data. They'll do prescriptive analytics as well in terms of prescribing or recommending to organizations what they might want to do off the back of that. So very much supporting that kind of decision-making process. There'll be some predictive analytics, so using mathematical models and forecasts to try and predict into the future. And the apprenticeship that kind of aligns nicely to that is the level 4 data analyst, and that's the one that Firebrand, some of our largest volume and some of our biggest successes are around that apprenticeship. If we move up a level, we're getting into the modeling space. Definitely nothing to do with clay, more about using mathematical models to try and predict patterns and trends in data, maybe classify aspects. And that would align nicely with the level 6 data science apprenticeship. And obviously that's a degree level apprenticeship, but the big benefit is not coming out with huge amounts of kind of student debt. And that requires huge volumes of data, which is why I've kind of linked that level 3 data technician or the researcher into the data scientist, because they might be buddied up with someone providing them that kind of information. That role is quite mathematical. It's quite statistics based as well. It's very, very complicated, but actually it doesn't get involved in terms of operationalizing some of those mathematical models. And that's where the level 5 data engineer and the level 5 or level 6 machine learning engineer come in. Now, a caveat on those two apprenticeships: they're not live at the moment. They're in their kind of planning and development stages. They're looking to go live kind of the end of next year, the beginning of the year after. And that's where you would take the data scientist predictive model and you'd actually implement it into business. So how can we make automated business decisions from these predictive models, as long as they are proven to be accurate and kind of reliable? And then right at the top, we've got the level 7 AI data specialist, and I'm sure everyone in the room understands what artificial intelligence is and how much of an impact that's going to have across lots of people's roles moving forward. And that AI data specialist, that's about strategizing. So looking out into the market, looking out into different industries, seeing how AI is being implemented within businesses and bringing that knowledge back in to your own organization. So it's very much about strategizing. How are we going to use AI? What are the best ways to kind of use AI? And if you could flick on to the data analysis lifecycle slide for me, Gareth, what I'll try and do here is just link some of the skills. And I think I quite like this slide because it really shows the breadth and depth of skills that are required as when you're working in data. So the data analysis lifecycle is obviously a life cycle. It starts with gathering a requirement from a customer. It then moves on to understanding what data is going to answer that customer's question and extracting it. Data is very rarely clean and accurate and complete, so there's quite a bit of data cleansing that often needs to happen. Then you move on to the analysis and modeling phase to actually start to understand the patterns and trends within that data. Once you've understood those patterns and trends, you often need to convey the findings to individuals, and that's where data visualization will come in, and then data presentation. And you can see some of the kind of high-level skills that I've attributed. So when we're talking to our customers, that's clearly communication skills. And actually, we need to understand a lot about our business as well. So that's where our domain knowledge kind of comes in. When we move into the identification and extraction stage, we need to think logically and operate in a logical manner. And potentially we might need some coding skills as well. A lot of data, when it's extracted at some stage, SQL features, which is structured query language. It's the language that almost all data extraction is predicated on. So there might be some coding skills required there. When we move into data cleansing, potentially tool-specific skills, you might be able to automate some of that data cleansing as well. So there were some automation skills come in there. When we move on to the analysis and modeling phase, data modeling or modeling of data is quite mathematical in its basis. So strong math skills are quite often needed. Perhaps the most interesting part for me and what attracted me to the role in the first place is that curiosity piece. So I can see this pattern and trend in data, but why is that happening? The more we understand about why, the better we can kind of mitigate or leverage should we need to. One of the cool things about data for me is you don't often get to marry art and maths together. And that's effectively what data visualization is. So we get some artistic skills combined with potentially some user experience skills as well in terms of how our customers assimilate those visualizations. And then we're potentially in the phase of trying to convey to senior stakeholders or any stakeholders what that analysis is saying. And that's where those kind of language skills come into play again. And for me, it's about negotiating and influencing, maximizing the impact from the analytics that I can have. And that requires me to fundamentally understand who my audience members are so I can adapt my communication style to meet their needs. Whistle-stop tour of the data analysis lifecycle.
That was excellent. Thank you so much for that, Sean.
Brilliant. Well, who knew, Tasmia, that there were that many jobs in data? Did you?
No, I was just bombarded with a lot of information there.
No. Well, the thing is, like you say, I think that's where Careers Live comes into its own, because we're bringing experts like Sean, and thanks very much, Sean, for joining us tonight. We're bringing experts right here to you to sort of make what might seem complex more simple. But tonight, we haven't just got one expert, we've actually got another expert guest who I'm going to introduce you to now. And that person is John Fiore, also from Lloyds Banking Group, working with us. So hopefully, oh, my screen's gone blank. Hopefully, John, are you there, John? Can you hear me?
I am here and I can hear you. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks so much for coming along tonight, John. So firstly, can I ask you to introduce yourself and let our audience know what it is that you actually do at Lloyds Banking Group?
Sure. And actually, Sean's previous slide about the data analytics lifecycle, a lot there is kind of what we support. So I've been with Lloyds since last December, senior manager for data literacy. Data literacy being the enabling people to be able to read, write, and analyze data, to be comfortable with working with any sort of size of data, draw insights from it so we can have effective decision making. And we've kind of compartmentalized that into almost 5 profiles or 5 learning pathways. Number one, going from, almost basic kind of understanding of key concepts, the importance of data, the value that it has, moving through core data management principles such as data quality, data ethics, lineage, dictionary, data governance, data architecture. Then starting to move into analytics, so base analytics, and then moving again another incremental step in terms of visualization, storytelling, critical thinking, using such tooling such as Power BI, Tableau, and then finally a data citizen, last kind of profile learning pathway, which is looking at things like DAX, SQL, Python, and just providing a bit of an introduction into those types of languages.
Oh, amazing. I mean, this a lot of the things that you mentioned there, it makes me think that this is a relatively new field. So from your perspective, what has been your journey into the world of data science and analytics, if I can actually say it, John?
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. So quite an interesting one, I think, because I did a master's in finance and then went straight into management accounting from uni. Was instantly kind of looking at large portfolios of loans, insurance accounts, and looking at strategic ways in terms of how to better the performance. That was heavily Excel based, Power Pivot, Power Query, and then moved into Power BI was relatively new back then, so using those types of visualization tools, but always sort of falling back on kind of Excel being a bit of a fundamental. Recently now looking into Python, learning that to expand my own knowledge. And I think Sean again alluded to it earlier, the power of AI is astronomical right now. And I think in terms of all the different tools that are coming out to support us, such as Copilot and other type of, ChatGPT, etc. I think there's still an element of understanding the data behind that, understanding almost the base code behind that, so we can trust that data, trust that it insight, so we can still make effective decisions based off that. So my journey's been quite organic, I think, throughout my career, but started in finance and then kind of analytics and moving more into data capabilities now.
Yeah, so many different things that you've obviously got a genuine interest in as well, John. I mean, well, I'm glad that you've joined us tonight, because on Careers Live, we always try and give our audience the chance to imagine themselves in some of the jobs that we feature. So, John, I understand that you've come along with a few questions that what we're going to do is we're going to pose them to our audience and see what they think the answers are. So the way that this is going to work is I've actually got the questions here. So what we need everybody to do is write in the chat some of your thoughts about what you think is the answer, and then we'll find out from John about how we'd approach that situation. So Tasmira, I'm going to start off. I might need a bit of a hand, but let's give this a try. So hopefully you're going to see this coming up in the chat. So the question is, okay, you are a data analyst at Lloyds Banking Group. The bank is considering adopting a data-driven approach to personalising products for customers. This can significantly benefit the customer. So what types of data might be helpful to you if you wanted to personalise a banking experience for a customer? And then if you want to push yourself a bit further, what types of challenges might be there in getting hold of all the data that you ideally want? So hopefully you can see all that in the chat. Have a think about it. I mean, it does feel like a very sort of real question, I think, John, doesn't it, really? I mean, we're all sort of used to personalisation in our social media feed, things like Spotify and Netflix, you know, when they sort of learn the sort of types of things that you like and then they suggest things that you might like. So, I mean, from a Lloyds perspective, let's have a little look at and see what the answers are, if there's anything coming through. Oh, I can see a few. I've just seen pop up: age, gender, spending habits. I think I saw something about the expenses of the customer as well.
Yeah, I've got that.
You've got that
So
one.
I think just to add, and I think this is purely just to sort of gauge where we're at, and I think you could have a conversation for an hour on this question alone. We are such a heavily regulated environment, but of course, the likes of Amazon, Netflix are leading the way in terms of that customer care and that customer journey. So we want to do what we can. And I think some examples are, even from just conversations, that's still data. You're still having a conversation in terms of a loan application. If some of our strategic aims are to reduce our carbon emissions, and perhaps the data that you see on a spreadsheet or from some model says, this isn't a right candidate to provide a loan to, but actually having a conversation with them in terms of their plan and their sort of green remit, you might want to make a decision based off of that. And then of course we've got our mobile technology in terms of current spend, saving, etc., that we can sort of have some behavioral nudges to say, you spent £50 last week, or you're saving up for your wedding. How are you performing with your savings? Just looking at some of the questions.
Yeah. So there's some good answers I can see that are coming through, aren't there, John? I mean, from
I really liked the one transaction histories, so you could kind of link the transactions with what you. Yeah, so that's a really good one.
That's a great point. And just to add on that, we have one of the richest data sets for the UK. So transaction history tells us quite a lot just on general spending habits and behavior. So I think, yes, you can tell a lot in terms of specific times of the day, specific is it the start of the month, the end of the month, and towards seasonal kind of expenditure. So yeah, there's tons there.
Yeah,
so I think you've all done really well considering you're not yet data science apprentices. So you've got the mindset, definitely. So let's see how you get on with the next scenario. So if we could just have this into the chat. So banking plays a significant role in making sure that banking and finance is inclusive and accessible across a wide range of communities, including more vulnerable customers. So what might be some of the challenges banks in today's era face in using data to support the needs of vulnerable customers and diverse communities? Oh, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is. I think it does feel really real, though, doesn't it, Tasmania?
Yeah, so I think we know people are struggling with the cost of living, and not everyone has equal access to digital services, and it's very easy to find yourself designing services that work for a certain group of people and forgetting that there are other populations that we need to consider or that deserve help as well. So I think that's a really important aspect nowadays.
I think absolutely right. And key one that I want to put out there is the comments are shooting up and down for me, but digital inclusion I caught. And absolutely, and in Lloyds, we provide a service where we go out to customers, we help them with online shopping, looking at NHS websites, getting familiar with email, so we can make sure that that we are trying to be as inclusive as possible, and all the sort of governance and life cycle change processes are inclusivity by design. And when there's lots of governance and accessibility criteria that we need to meet, and if we don't meet that, it doesn't go live. So it's always on our mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm getting a really clear view here, John, that data science and analytics is just so much more than just analysing numbers. And I think that's what a lot of the time people think about these type of careers. It's so much more than that, isn't it? It's informing decisions that have real impacts on actual people. So I think we've probably got time for one more question, John. So I'm just going to read that one out if we can put this one in the chat, please, Gareth. But this is a question. You ready? Final question. So banks rely heavily on data for decision making. Sometimes data may not have been sourced appropriately. It might not be as complete as we ideally want. What would be the implications if we make decisions based on data that's not of good quality? So we'll see what comes through in the chat there. But I mean, John, this must be a big concern for Lloyds, but also a space where trade-offs are inevitable. You always want to make decisions based on perfect data, but sometimes if you're waiting for the perfect moment, it might take too long. I mean, how do we manage things like that in practice?
I'm taken by the comments. I think everyone is on point. Misleading trends, misinformation, wrong conclusions. You're all absolutely right. And it is difficult. I think when you grow, when you're a large organization, you've got multiple brands, multiple legacy systems. So you need to make sure that everyone from a data literacy perspective is very, very literate in data quality, data lineage, data dictionary. We've got lots of platforms to support us, but it is a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, inaccurate predictions. I can see, Naomi, I can see some of the things that people are talking about. I mean, it is
Poor
fascinating.
recommendations is a really good one. Poor recommendations, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Great.
just sorry, Elaine, go on.
No, go on. No, you go for it, John.
Just inaccurate predictions, absolutely. So in terms of, again, heavily regulated environment, Basel II, liquidity requirements from the bank, if you've got wrong data coming in, you're going to get wrong data coming out. And in terms of having that capital to continue BAU and to meet compliance, there's definitely a risk there to manage. So we put lots of controls in place, and there's lots of talented people looking at this all the time. We've got lots of tools to support us with this.
Yeah, I know, it is fascinating, isn't it, to sort of, when you start really thinking about it. I mean, I'd love to carry on talking to you, John, but I think we're going to have to move on to our next guest. But thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks to everyone in our audience for taking part in all your amazing answers and responses.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Thanks so much, John. So that was good. That was a really informative session. So coming up next on Careers Live, we'll be hearing from our apprentices, Philip and Claudia, about their apprenticeship journeys. But first, here's a quick video from colleagues who've recently joined Lloyds Banking Group and why they love to work here.
Love to work at LBG. So it was the feeling that I got when I was welcomed by my team.
Helping people in the most vulnerable of moments.
There's always like some activities going on, fun activities.
Honestly, I actually really can't appreciate everyone enough.
When I joined the group, the first day itself was very warm and welcoming.
And fun as well, a bit of fun too when you were doing the learning and stuff. And
everybody's welcoming, warm, you feel at home.
Satisfaction when you finish the call and somebody's like, thank you, you've helped so much, just makes your day a little bit better.
It's just been very enlightening to have a team that actually supports me and gets me going and ready for work. I've never really had that before.
As a bit of a nerd, the technology is really appealing.
The systems, they're easy to learn.
I really do love it here, and the people are great, everyone is great, coming to the office is great.
My training was genuinely fantastic. It set you up for success.
You are free to express yourself.
There's a lot of stuff to do in Lloyds that outside of work.
I found the opportunities available very exciting.
It was easier to do the training with people that you can kind of get on with and have a laugh with.
There is always something that I learn every
Single day I'm at work.
I felt included from the start. It was really professional, really efficient.
I really enjoy the emphasis placed on personal growth and development.
Every avenue is open, you know, it's very friendly, people are willing to talk and share what they do.
That was lovely. I love every day I learn something new. So yeah, that's great. So it's the time you've all been waiting for. So it's now the time to catch up with our apprentices and discover more about how apprenticeships in project management work. So let me introduce you to Philip and Claudia. So Philip, if I could ask you to introduce yourself first and then Claudia, please.
Hi everybody, thanks Tasmia. My name's Phil and I'm a customer insight analyst working at Black Horse, which is part of Lloyds Bank. And I've been at the group for 13 months, I think. I started on a data analyst apprenticeship along with Claudia.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Hi, so yeah, I started along with Phil last September doing our level 4 data analyst apprenticeship. I'm in a different team to Phil. I'm actually in an operational MI and visualization team, so spend most of my time building dashboards and transforming data sets.
That's excellent. Nice. So Phil, the question you probably get asked the most. So how would you describe what you do to your friends and family?
Well, first off, I've had to go through quite a few different scripts before I could actually come out with something that they actually understand, because beforehand everyone just thought that I spent most of my time taking computers apart, but I do nothing of the sort. So what I really do is I work with data to understand what our customers think about our transport services. So part of that means looking at surveys, looking at complaints, and looking at other feedback to see where we're going well and what we can improve on. Essentially, it's like being a detective, but for customer satisfaction.
Wow, that sounds nice. Probably something. Is this something that you've always wanted to do, or did you know that this is the role that you always wanted, or how do you feel now that you've ended up here?
I wouldn't say it's something that I've always wanted. I only came across this opportunity about just over 18 months ago. I spent 10 years traveling the world teaching English, and then I spent 5 years working as a chef. And it was only while I was working as a chef that I had a conversation with somebody. They pointed out, well, you seem to have the mind of an analyst, so maybe you should be looking into that. And that's when I started looking, and I found that there was a data analyst apprenticeship available at Lloyds. And I've been here for 13 months. I've already had a promotion. So now I'm working as a customer insight analyst, but still analyst. So it's not exactly what I've always wanted to do, but I don't think I've ever felt as comfortable as I do in this role at the moment.
Wow, from traveling the world to now being a data analyst, I think it's a very changing journey. But thanks for that, Phil. And Claudia, what was your journey into data science? Did you travel the world, or not? Or are you going to travel the world now? So.
I wish, no. No, so when I was younger, I really wanted to study the natural world, in particular the ocean. So I did a master's degree in ocean science, where I actually found I spent the majority of my time kind of looking at data sets to discover new insights and also to understand the findings behind research. So I found myself becoming kind of increasingly data literate and also navigating to the data side of science. So, for example, using statistics to determine correlations, such as ocean warming, sea level rise, which I actually really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed the learning behind how data can be analysed and interpreted using so many different techniques and applications. So I graduated during COVID and I got a job as a data analyst at a healthcare company. So this was a really great opportunity and introduction to data in business. However, I was looking for more opportunities to kind of continue my learning and build a stronger foundation in data analytics. And this is when I found the data analyst apprenticeship at LBG. And it really stood out to me because of its focus in learning and actually building that foundation. I also really found myself kind of aligning to LBG values. So in particular, the commitment to a sustainable future. So yeah, that's kind of why I ended up in this apprenticeship. And also the LBG apprenticeship kind of offered a more permanent role as a data analyst within business. So that's what inspired me to come here.
And I'm sure you've heard about the stigma about like tech and data being a male-oriented environment. So how have you found it? Like how have you found things in reality?
So I think it's still kind of true that there is a disparity in the proportion of women to men in data and tech in the workspace in the UK. But I've not actually had that experience working at LBG. If anything, I've really had the opposite experience with LBG kind of promoting inclusivity and also advancement for kind of all their colleagues. So one of LBG's key values is to be inclusive, which can be from seeking out new perspectives from a team member or just ensuring everyone is respected and recognized within the community. So another thing that I found really great is kind of the opportunity that LBG is providing to women within the data and tech community. So for example, they have hubs within the wider community, such as Women Connect Tech, which brings together women working in data and tech jobs and holds schemes such as Coach to Code and also women-led kind of Code First Girl courses. So there's also mentoring schemes such as glass ceiling mentoring, where colleagues can join safe spaces, they can learn and they can educate each other on experiences and backgrounds, and just really help promote inclusivity at LBG.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. And just so, Phil, could you give us some like insight into what the training is like? And I'm sure everyone on the call would want to know what the training's like. So if you could just help us out.
Yeah, sure. So the training assumes, so me and Claudia, we both doing our training with Firebrand, and this training assumes at the start that you don't need to have any real background in data at all. As I already mentioned, that I spent 5 years beforehand and 10 years before that working in different roles. Spending 5 years as a chef did not really prepare me for what was required of this role, but nothing was really asked of me. I came in with a blank slate, and all I had to do was go through the training manuals, the books, and the e-learning assignments that they'd given us. And in addition to the online learning platforms that we've been signed up for, there were 4 residentials where for 4 or 5 days we'd spend some time away in a group, going through theory and then having practical exposure to the skills that might be useful for our roles. And I have to say that one of the reasons why I took this approach was because I felt like I needed, I didn't have a background in this, so I needed to learn on the job. And the best way to learn on the job is by being put in a learning environment. And one of the great things about this role is that you're not really in competition for learning space or time. You're given one day off a week that you can dedicate to your learning. And that's really important if you want to make a success out of things.
That's an excellent point you highlighted there, Phil. So the next question I'm going to ask is like, how do you balance learning and working at the same time? So you've mentioned that one day a week, but Claudia, would you like to tell us how you balance it with yourself and personal life as well?
Yeah, so obviously for the apprenticeship, there's 20% off the job learning, which is about 1 day a week. So it is really important to manage your time, and yeah, allocating a day such as Fridays as a day for learning is really helpful. And what I've found is really just discussing that with my line manager, who's been very accommodating of this. Everybody is there to facilitate you, to help you continue your learning. And teams want apprentices to learn. We're there to bring new skills, to kind of help them grow. So really, if you're struggling managing your learning, just speak to someone. I know at the start it can be a bit daunting having to drop all tasks from work and just go into do learning. It's not really something that people can really take on too easily. So just making sure you speak to people and try and plan what you want to learn each week. I found that really helps. If you kind of have that step-by-step guide of where you want to be in the future. And yeah, you don't have to do anything out of hours if you don't want.
Yeah, no, as an apprentice as well, so I know that like having that communication is very important with your line manager and your team. So that's an excellent point that you've highlighted. So we've spoke about the good parts, but what are the bits that are most challenging in this role? So Phil, would you like to?
Sure. One of the big challenges for me, something that I've already pointed back to a couple of times, is that I didn't come from a banking background and I didn't really come from a data analysis background either. So the challenge and one of the nice joys of being on an apprenticeship is that you're put in an environment where you're not expected to succeed straight from the off. You're expected to be learning on the job as things go forward. So the challenge for me was understanding, right, here I am. Here's an opportunity for me to learn. I'm surrounded by colleagues who have not just years, but decades worth of experience. So the challenge for me is how can I tap into their knowledge, build up my own knowledge, while also continuing to learn for what's required in the apprenticeship. Uh, the the work environment completely different, and we both joined at a time where a lot of people were working from home a lot, so there's been an adjustment on that side of things as well. For some people, just having to manage your own time schedule and wake up is a big challenge, but for me, it was always fantastic. When I first started, I was waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning just because I wanted the opportunity to learn, to find more things to do. I'm one of those people who badger you until you give me some work to do. So I loved that challenge. But the longer that I've been here, there's another challenge in that, and that is to continue to manage my time in such a way that I can still have space for learning opportunities. I'm sure that Claudia will have something different to say about that.
No, I mean, I quite like being in the office. So it's been quite useful. And also, yeah, having time for learning opportunities has been really the most important part of the apprenticeship. I would say most challenging for me was probably speaking to stakeholders when I don't really know about banking too much. But again, everybody is there to help you. And if you ask for feedback, then you'll always get great feedback that you can work with.
And just quickly, what's your ambition for life after the apprenticeship?
So I really want to continue my career at Lloyds. So I know Phil's already got a promotion. I'm looking to go into promotion kind of next year, and also continue in my team that I'm in. So we do a lot of automation. I'm learning a lot of new kind of skills, languages. We do a lot of SQL, Python, R. So just continue that learning and be in a role that allows me to continue learning as well.
Okay, great. And Phil, just for yourself as well.
Well, I obviously wanted to carry on with my career here. I like the idea of continuing to find space to learn alongside my job, which means going for a level 6, level 7. Once I've finished my apprenticeship, which should finish about April next year. I'm always looking for more opportunities to learn. So as long as the job is going to give me that, I'm going to be happy.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I think hopefully everyone will have seen that there's plenty of opportunities to learn here at Lloyds Banking Group. And actually, the best way to learn about what it's actually like to work here is to speak to apprentices such as Phil and Claudia. So that's why we do Lloyds Careers Live. That's why it exists, you know, because we want to give you those opportunities to listen to our colleagues and hear it from themselves. So time is flying by, and at this point in the evening you might be thinking, one, what time is dinner? Or two, you might be thinking, great, you want to do an apprenticeship in data science or data analytics. But what I'm going to do is introduce my colleague John Banks, who's going to tell you all about how we assess candidates and the application process.
Hey folks, my name's John Banks and I'm part of the apprenticeships team here at Lloyds Banking Group. I hope you're enjoying your webinar so far today, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time to talk you through the assessments and selection process should you choose to apply and join us as an apprentice in the future. So I guess first thing to say is we hire at Lloyds Banking Group based on personal strengths, behaviours and motivation to actually work within the group. And the majority of our apprenticeships don't have academic qualifications attached, and that will be dependent on the programme that you apply for. But generally speaking, because we're looking for hiring you as an individual and the type of behaviours and values that you represent, and we attach more value to that than we do academic qualifications. And if you are interested in applying, the first step to take then is to complete an initial online application. And as well as telling us a little bit about yourself, we'll do some basic eligibility checks just to make sure that you qualify for the apprenticeship. And really where you might fall down on that is almost if you were overqualified, because you can't undertake an apprenticeship unless there's a significant learning need. So for example, if you've already held a degree in your particular discipline, then the apprenticeship wouldn't work for you because you're actually qualified to degree level. But assuming that's okay, the first stage post application for you is you may be asked to undertake an online test to assess your strengths and your mathematical skills as well. And if you come through those tests achieving the relevant benchmark, the next step will be an interview. Now, that interview can either be a face-to-face interview or it could be a video interview. And if you're applying for a level 2 or a level 3 apprenticeship, that will be the final stage. And as a result of that interview, you may be offered an apprenticeship position. If you are applying for a level 4 plus apprenticeship, the final stage will be a follow-on assessment centre. And it's a virtual assessment centre, takes place for a full day, and it's made up of a further strengths-based interview and a series of virtual challenges. Don't be daunted by the assessment centre in any way, shape or form. It is a full day, and of course you are being assessed against other individuals who are looking to undertake an apprenticeship with ourselves. But it's a relatively fun day. It's relatively informal, and again, we just want to see the real you at that assessment centre. And we do recognise that people are different and want to make the process overall as simple and accessible for everybody. So if you do need any support with any of the steps through the selection and assessment process, we've got a dedicated mailbox. So it'll just be a case of calling out exactly what support you may need, or even if you've just got general questions about the process, full stop, that mailbox is on hand to answer any of those questions. And I guess if I were to give you a tip of how to prepare for either interview or assessment centre, I guess what we don't want is perfectly crafted and rehearsed answers and almost second guessing what we might want to hear. What we want to see is the real you. We want to see your passion for your apprenticeship and the discipline that you've chosen, and of course your motivation for working at Lloyds Banking Group. So that's the process. All of this information, and it will be elaborated on a bit further with some examples and further guidance, can be found at lloydsbankinggrouptalent.com. So definitely go and have a look at that site, have a little look around, some great case studies of some of our existing apprentices as well, who will talk about their journey, essentially how they came to undertake an apprenticeship and what it's like to live and breathe life in Lloyds Banking Group. And just on lloydsbankinggrouptalent.com as well, there is a little button that says register your interest. And why that's quite neat is you can go on and express an interest in particular disciplines of apprenticeship that you're interested in. And it just means whenever a vacancy then does come up, you'll get an automatic notification. So hope that all makes sense. Enjoy the rest of your webinar, and hopefully we receive some applications from many of you in the future. Good luck, folks.
Thank you, John. So we've got 9 minutes left, so please make sure you get your questions in, because we don't want you to leave without your questions being answered. So I know we've just given you a lot of information, and the process of finding the right apprenticeship, applying, and then securing the one that's right for you feels daunting. So there's a lot of information available online, and whilst that's helpful, it's a lot to take in as well. So here at Lloyds, we've created our Imagine What's Next portal. So the link is appearing in the chat now. It takes a couple of minutes to register, and once you're in, you'll be able to see all the resources we can offer you to help you on your journey. It's also where you can find information about our upcoming vacancies, apply for work experience, and link up with other apprentice mentors. So all of our apprentices are keen not just to develop themselves, but see others around them develop as well. So we've invited our most experienced apprentices to become mentors on Imagine What's Next. And then you can also link up with them, learn more about their journey, just how you have today hearing Phil and Claudia's. And then there's also like specific career information. If you're interested, you can link up with an apprentice in that field. So there's a lot of information there. So and they're also there to help you learn through understanding their experiences of applying and even securing an apprenticeship place. So go over to that link, sign up to Imagine What's Next, and you'll be the first to know about everything we develop here at Lloyds Banking Group to help your career thrive. And of course, we work with some great organizations whose work we admire as well. So here's our colleague Ian with top 5 resources to help you on your way.
Hi everybody, it's Ian here from the Lloyds Early Careers team, and they've given me 2 minutes to talk to you about my favourite websites for discovering what's next on your journey. So here we go, no time to waste. Coming in at number 5 is some useful resources here from the Association of Apprentices and Amazing Apprentices. There are some great resources in here. The Association of Apprentices in particular, a great way to meet other apprentices and find out what that journey is like compared to university. And at number 4, of course, Amazing Apprenticeships, which just has so much information, including just ways in which you can find out what apprenticeship might suit you by just looking at subjects that you like. And there's some great resources for parents in there as well. Now at number 3 we have the government's resources. This is the government's Find an Apprenticeship service where you can look for live vacancies. It's a really good idea in there. And if you're not sure whether that pay is going to be competitive, the National Careers Service, you can find out all sorts of things about what you'll be paid in training and what you should be expecting after training as well, so you can command your place in the marketplace. Now, coming in at number 2, our friends at UCAS, a whole range of resources here, from finding your next job, information about how to construct a CV, pass an assessment centre, and all kinds of different things. And if you don't know what you want to do at all, there's even a cool career quiz as well to help you. And of course, coming in at number 1, Lloyds Banking Group's resources, the Lloyds Bank Academy, and alongside that, our work experience information and the one QR that you need, which is for our Imagine What's Next platform. Signing up here on that QR code will get you front of line access to all of our skills training, all of the learning we offer, all of the experiences we can do, access to our work experience and early notification of vacancies as well. What's not to like? That's all you need to do on your journey as you imagine what's next.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. I can't believe our time is almost up, Tasmia. Well, next month, as we reach the end of the year, we're teaming up with Young Professionals for a very, very special end of year Lloyds Careers Live. So we recognise that it's a really critical time of year for a lot of you. You're going to be potentially developing your UCAS personal statements, wondering whether university or an apprenticeship is right for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore all the realities of an apprenticeship with you. We're going to talk about the ups and downs, the in-betweens on our special live broadcast, which is going to be on the 5th of December with our friends at Young Professionals. So if you want to join us on that, sign up to Imagine What's Next, as you heard Ian mention, and you'll see your personal invite to that session waiting for you there. So we've put that link in the chat once again for you. So just before we go, I know we're running out of time, but let's try and revisit that poll to see how well you now understand careers in cybersecurity, well, in data, careers in data as well. Let's open up the poll again. So on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, how well do you understand careers in data, science and analytics? Let's have a look what's coming up. Oh, so far we're on 4, Tasmia. Looks like the top one, 67%.
And if you're interested in cybersecurity, I'm sure we'll have a session for that as well. So make sure to sign up to Imagine What's Next.
That's right. We will be covering that again next year. We're working out what we're doing in terms of our content for 2024. But we're going to talk about everything. I mean, look, number 4, 69%, Tasmia. So it looks like it's definitely moved on, doesn't it, from the start of the call?
Definitely. That's great. And it's fantastic to see that tonight's live stream has helped so many of you. So don't forget to register. This is like the 4th time I've said it now. So don't forget to register on our with our Imagine What's Next connector platform, where you can learn more about careers at Lloyds and chat with some of our career mentors to continue the conversation as well. So you may even find me there. And if you've missed anything, you can hop over to the Lloyds Careers YouTube channel and replay tonight's live stream. So don't worry if you've missed any links. You can see those all in in the replay. And it's been our pleasure to have you join us for tonight's Lloyds Careers Live. Imagine what's next. Wherever your career takes you, we wish you every success and have a wonderful evening. Good night. Thank you, Elaine.
Good night, all.
What does success mean to us?
Success is making a difference.
For our customers and our communities.
Success is empowering people from the start.
Building their confidence.
Giving them tools to start their careers.
Success is putting our people first.
It's knowing when to listen.
And making the time to talk.
Success is supporting causes we care about.
It's getting involved.
All hands on deck.
Success is making banking better.
It's engineering a fairer future.
Making progress and leaving no one behind.
Whatever shape it takes.
Success starts with us.